could I just give a high level of the app and what makes it super unique just for everybody listening?
You totally can, and please do, and take your time.
Okay. So what's super unique about our application is it's the first time that computer vision is being used for training in the hockey space. And so what that really means is instead of being confined to like a board or sensors that light up, pretty much anybody, once they download the app and, get our attachment, will be able to like use drills and train on different drills, but then eventually create their own drills. And coaches will be able to reach players with their own drills. So it's like this like kind of canvas that you can build whatever you want on. And you can also add physical objects into the play space. And so because it's all digital, it's really kind of like a whole paradigm shift in the way that all these tools have been built in the past. And so like one of my favorite like moments in all of like entrepreneurship journey is like the classic Steve Jobs unveiling the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
But what was crazy about the iPhone was the touch screen. And nobody remembers that. But like when he went in, what he said is he's like, this is all software now. There aren't buttons that you need to press. Like this is software. And so we can change it however we feel like. And that's like changed the whole course. And so that's kind of what is super cool about computer vision is everything is like on the iPad. So it's like you don't have to get your own hardware, but then it's also software. So it's like it's changeable. And I'm really excited for you to try it out, Lance, because it works really well.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Hockey Journey podcast, episode number 137, HeadsUpHockey.ai with CEO Michael Fitzgerald. Presented to you by OnlineHockeyTraining.com. I'm your host, Coach Lance Pitlick. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on any future episodes. Before we jump on the innovation bus and dig into a new AI-powered revolutionary hockey training aid and begin this conversation, if you want to learn more about me, my hockey experiences, what I know, and most importantly, how I've been helping hockey players get really good with a stick and puck, just head on over to OnlineHockeyTraining.com, that's OnlineHockeyTraining.com, and gain instant access to my 10-part video series where I'll show you everything. Consider it my gift to you. Lastly, if you live in Minnesota or are visiting the state of hockey sometime soon and want to schedule an in-person off-ice stick skills lesson, I'd love to have the opportunity to show you my little world. Go to sweethockeycoach.com, that's sweethockeycoach.com, and watch the video on the homepage for instructions. Thanks, and I look forward to working with you sometime soon. Today, we have a special guest joining us here on the Hockey Journey podcast. Being an entrepreneur myself, I love hearing the story of a company, but also the founder's voyage, which always begins venturing into uncharted waters. He's at the forefront of innovation in the hockey world, leading the charge with cutting-edge AI technology. We're excited to dive into the intersection of hockey and artificial intelligence with him. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming CEO, the Big Cheese, the Grand Poobah, Michael Fitzgerald from Heads Up Hockey AI to the show. Mr. Fitzgerald, welcome to the Hockey Journey podcast.
Hey, Lance, thanks so much for having me on.
I have to say that could have been one of the best intros I've ever done without mistakes. So this is a good sign, my friend, a good sign.
I appreciate the intro. It was awesome.
Yeah. So Michael, you, just to give our listeners how we got introduced, you have started a company called HeadsUpHockey.ai, and you emailed, I'm sure, a lot of people, and I was one of them, just introducing your product and just saying, hey, if you want a guest on the podcast, I'd love to come on, and looked at your website, looked at the product, had a conversation with you, and you checked all the boxes, so here we are.
I know I'm super excited to talk to you about the product and kind of like our whole journey as a company.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get started right away. So how I like to start all shows where I'm interviewing someone is to get a little background information of you. What's your life been like? Let's rewind the tape. and take a moment, look in the rearview mirror and go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Your parents, siblings, friends, sports? I don't even know if you played hockey. Basically, tell the listeners in a nutshell what the heck it was like growing up, Michael Fitzgerald.
Totally. So I guess I grew up in this little town called Waterford, Virginia. So I grew up in a farm in the middle of nowhere. I was fortunate enough to have two parents that were also entrepreneurs. So they ran a company that did a lot of data centers, and they retired pretty young and then moved out to the countryside. So kind of the dream. I was homeschooled growing up, which is I think kind of unusual, which we can talk about, but it was an amazing experience. I really got to experience what a lot of my different interests were growing up. And then I played a lot of tennis and violin were the two of my main hobbies growing up. So I was a competitive tennis player. I was recruited Division 1 in high school. I didn't actually end up playing in college due to wanting to focus more on academics. I wasn't good enough to go pro. So I was like, if I'm not going to play professionally, it might be better for me to focus more on school. So that's kind of, I guess, my earlier childhood.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause right there because I want to dive a little deeper into your early passions into tennis and violin, because you just said that you probably maybe could have played college, and I don't know what the levels of violin, but it sounds like you're the type of kid where if you're going to invest in something, you're going to see how good you can become. But people that are going to be listening to this know what are the extras to get better in the sport of hockey, besides playing in their team practices and games, working with a technical skating instructor, working with a person like me that specializes in off-ice stick skill development. Talk a little bit about maybe some of your extra training or some specialized training that you went through either in tennis or getting good at the violin.
Totally. So the violin was more of an earlier phase. So I would say that I was a concert violinist, like an early stage concert violinist, and I stopped playing around 13, 14. But I was practicing around 3 to 5 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
So it was very intense. And I feel like that was kind of the first time that I really got to learn how to work. So I think really something that's super crucial when you play an instrument is being able to isolate all the things you're really bad at. And that's just a life skill. And so that's really, I think, was maybe the biggest lesson I learned was kind of trying to reach out into that creative side, but also match the creative with the hard work and the really technical aspects. And so I stopped playing violin around 13, 14, and mostly focused on playing tennis from then on out, just because I didn't have enough time to do both. And so I actually went to a full-time tennis training academy.
Oh,
wow. So I was homeschooled. I'd get off school pretty early, and there were a lot of full-time kids there. It's in College Park in Maryland, and that was a great experience. And so there are a lot of lessons I could kind of talk endlessly about, all the specialized training. There was definitely fitness components. So there were sections where it was focusing on being fit, which I think is just a super important thing in life.
Yep.
And you probably experience that all the time with hockey, is getting bigger, getting stronger, but then also doing it in a sustainable way so you don't burn out and you don't hurt yourself. And then again, from mental coaching was a huge aspect of tennis, and I'm sure it's a huge aspect that you see in your players that you try to develop, is how do you mentally prepare to play the point and to play every point at the same level. And that's really hard to do, and having a short memory and not letting things get in your head. Sports is just I know this is the most cliche thing, but a great metaphor for life. And that's what's really drawn me to wanting to stay in the sports world, is just, it's that competitive nature, but then also that nature where you're fighting with yourself a lot of times too.
Yeah. Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
Holy cow. You talk like a 50-year-old.
Thanks.
No, very well spoken. And, two things kind of come to mind. I'm a avid book reader, learner, and love to hear other people's journeys, research studies. And I remember one book that I read when it comes to musicians. I think it was The Talent Code. And there was a person who did a study at a music academy, and I think they were talking about violinists. And they documented them for, I don't know, a decade or a long time. And what they came out at the end was, it just showed that at an early age, they're all practicing at the same. But at the end, they were practicing, upward of 8 to 12 hours a day. And those were the ones that became the concert soloists and stuff like that. And then you go down to, and then they said that that's where the 10,000 rule, I think they tied it in with that. And then you looked at people who were going to end up being teachers. They only logged like maybe 8,000 hours or something. So that's a big part of it. So when you talked about how much you were playing, I mean, that's dedication. And then you talk about tennis. I'm sure you've read some books by Jim Lohr. He was a big tennis guy, but there was another, and I think it was him, but he was trying to find ways to help tennis players get better, and he would watch match after match, and he just couldn't figure anything out. But then he found one difference, and it was some players acted completely different in between points. And that's where you're talking about that mental imagery, focusing on the process, just focusing on what's next. And so you and I are playing at the same piano, my friend.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I love the Talent Code. I have not read Jim Lohr, but yeah, the 10,000 hour rule I think rings extremely true. One interesting thing about the 10,000 hour rule that I learned like super recently was that the 10,000 hour rule is actually 10,000 hours by the time you turn 18.
Yeah.
For those level of performers. And I think the other thing that's super interesting about when you look at practices is when you look at the way that people practice. And I don't know if it was mentioned in the Talent Code or I just learned it somewhere else, but like I was saying about the practicing specific sections, one of my favorite quotes is practice makes permanent.
Yeah.
And so if you're practicing like a bad habit, you actually become really good at the bad habit. And I think that that's something I try to apply to like my whole life is like, am I like wasting time and just doing like some subconscious kind of like bad job on something? Or am I like actually going to be able to, use very intentional time in order to progress? I mean, and that's like huge, I think, especially for kids. And as we get to talk about the product more, something we really had behind the app is like, how do you make this intentional instead of just like something that's, subconscious and a waste of time?
Yeah. I mean, make it deliberate. There's you talk about that. There's again, I read so many books, it's hard to keep track of them all, but there's a technique that I use in teaching shooting in tight with kids. It's something that I read in a book, and it's from that violinist school, but it's a technique called chunking. So they would have students just work on one particular note, just work on that, and then work on the next one, and do that, and then at the end, put it all together. So that's what I do. The in-tight shot has like 5 parts. So I spend just a little bit of time on each one, and at the end, we put it all together. And it's amazing how if you just take that little bit of extra time and be deliberate, be patient, but go through each of them, that they pick it up so much quicker.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I can imagine that. I mean, that's a really advanced technique I feel like to use, especially for, for shooting and stuff.
Well, you think you're cutting edge with AI. I've been cutting edge for a long time too. So.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're playing tennis and doing all that stuff. I interrupted you. We had a great little intersector, but carry on with your childhood.
Yeah, so I guess I could jump to college. I don't really have too much more. I mean, I have 2 siblings. I don't think there was anything that much more interesting. I was very, I think, focused on like the college search. And I think that I don't know if that's huge for hockey, but especially for tennis. A lot of people play tennis to try to get recruited into really strong academic universities or get scholarships.
Yep.
So that was kind of my focus with tennis, was not to actually play professionally. And also I wasn't that good. Like I was okay. I think I was like maybe top 3 or 500 nationally. So I was like a nationally ranked player, but the jump from, again, from being a good level college player to playing pro is extremely large.
Well,
even if you're at the top tier.
Yeah, you watch that show, Breakpoint or whatever, on Netflix, and you find how tough it is to make it as a pro.
It's wild. And that's why I was like, I respect your pro journey so much, because being a professional athlete is so hard. And yeah, I was just, the thing is at the training center I played, actually Francis Tiafoe trains there too.
Okay, yeah.
And so you can you get to see those players and you can see kind of the gap. So it's very eye-opening. But to be honest with you, I was really more focused, or not more focused, but more passionate about school and like other things other than tennis. Like tennis was great for me and I loved it, but I think I had more passion on other places. So I graduated from playing tennis, and I was like doing the recruitment grind. I was recruited by a couple places, and then I applied kind of on a whim to a school in Cleveland, Ohio called Case Western Reserve University, which I don't think many people know, but it's kind of a small school, and they ended up giving me like close to a full ride on academics.
Oh, so nice. Congrats.
Thanks. So it just kind of like fell in place, and I went and visited there, and I loved the campus, which is weird to say because you wouldn't expect it for Cleveland, but they had this thing called a makerspace, which sold me. And it's so funny because I never used it when I went to college, but they had like this place where you could kind of create whatever you wanted. And I had been familiar with makerspaces. I had done like a lot of projects with, like Arduino, 3D printing, like in high school. And so I was like, this is heaven. So that's kind of, I guess, like my early journey.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this makerspace? I've never heard about that.
Sure. So a makerspace is exactly what it sounds like. So it's pretty much like a space for you to build whatever you want. So you actually might have one near you. So it pretty much gives you all the tools. So it has laser cutters, 3D printers typically. And the one at Case Western actually they, I think, spent close to $50 to $100 million on their makerspace. So it's a really high tech makerspace. So it's like 5 stories, and it has, every 3D printer you can imagine, every laser cutter you can imagine. They have welding, TIG and STIG, which is it STIG? I don't know what exactly. But then they have like fabrication floors, and then they have like an innovation lab all the way on the top. So
and what do you do? Rent space there, or how do you get in there?
So if you're a student, you can just walk in, and it's actually also open to the public during certain hours.
Really?
Yeah. So it's awesome. And I love it because it's just to kind of encourage people to build things.
Well, I used to own a products company, and now I might be getting back in the products business. So look out, world.
That's awesome. You should actually look up a makerspace near you. I'm sure there's one, and it's a really affordable way to prototype stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. That is cool. All right. We're done with the youth, and we're off to college, I guess, and doing our deal.
I guess off to college. So I graduated college about 2 years ago. I want to say computer science.
Okay.
So I graduated in 3 years with a computer science degree. I don't know. I had a job lined up, so I was interning with Cisco, building application servers for the State Department. So that was something in my previous life.
Nice.
And then I got a full-time offer from them my second year in college, like towards the end. So then I decided to graduate in 3 years. And that was kind of chaotic. I'm not going to lie. I took 26 credits my last semester.
Oh my God.
So, because I wasn't planning to, but it's just like kind of the way everything worked out. So then I had a full-time job, graduated from college, was working there for a while, and then I quit my job, and here we are. So that's the whole story.
All right. Perfect. Because that segues in to my first business question. Let's talk about the origin story. What inspired you to start Heads Up Hockey? Was there a particular moment or an experience, I guess, that sparked the idea?
Totally. So It's actually like kind of a long and windy story.
We got time.
Uh, okay. I we originally so we are really technically at the core of what we are is we're a computer vision company. Um, and so I was working on a pickleball application that I was super excited about, and the whole idea was to automate pickleball. So after this is kind of like a weird segue, but I played tennis, and tennis and pickleball are super similar.
Yep.
And the pickleball scene is pretty. I wouldn't say it's not nearly as competitive as tennis. So I played pro pickleball for a while in between like the end of college and maybe for like 8 months. Um, and I was playing a lot like through college and then towards the end of college. And so I got really into pickleball. And so I built a pickleball application that was like an auto scoring pickleball application. So it'd watch you play and keep score.
Cool.
That was kind of the whole idea. And so we were like, let's automate tournaments. Let's do this. And then we were just kind of like looking at like, where else could we, this kind of like this technology that we have really cool fit. And then we kind of like started looking at like Super Deker, some of these other products, and we're like, we could do this. Like we felt like so much better, and it was like a really cool market. And I loved hockey growing up. Like I sadly don't watch that much hockey now because I'm very busy, but my dad and I used to go to like a Capitals game every year for my birthday.
Oh,
so
cool.
we're kind of like looking at similar products on the market, and we started like developing it, and we're like, this is kind of like a reasonable task for us to build out. Like it's not, the scope of the project isn't where we need $2-3 million in funding. We could kind of get it off the ground. And so then we just kind of built it.
Yeah.
I guess that's where we are now.
So, you talked about you're saying it's not me, it's we are doing this.
Totally. So
talk about how you brought in some partners, or how did that happen?
Totally. So I have a small team. I have two kind of like other friends that are helping me out part-time. And so I always say we, which
that's good.
Just want to give them a shout out. One of our members on our team, I met him in college. I just met him and he was like one of the coolest people I've ever met. And we just kind of clicked, became friends. And he's brilliant. He's a lot smarter than me. So he right now works for Epic. So he's a professional. I mean, he's a professional programmer right now. And he's just kind of doing this as a side project. And he's a professional hip hop dancer also. So he's my co-founder.
All right.
Which is wild. He won World of Dance in 2020. So he's just like,
wow.
Just like, or 2021, one of the years. He and this group called Elevated. You got to check them out. They're insane.
Were they on like America's Got Talent or something like that?
I don't think they've done America's Got Talent. I know a lot of them dance in like the Super Bowl and stuff. So they're like really, really good.
Okay, cool.
So just like a cool guy, and he was also homeschooled, so we kind of hit it off, and he's a great programmer. So him, and then another friend that I met in college. And so I guess we have a team of three if I think about it, but one guy's been really busy with school, so he hasn't been helping us out that much recently.
Mm-hmm.
But the other works for a company called Raytheon. So he's I'd say like he's super smart, super technical, and he's kind of the guy who's maybe the most technical on the team. So I'd say that my friend Oliver, who's the dancer, I'd say he's like super creative. And then I would say my other friend Sam, he's probably the most technical. So he adds like a lot of, I guess, grounding, like technical understanding to the team.
Right. So, what kind of, you started out with the pickleball stuff, and now you've kind of veered into the hockey lane. Whose kind of big idea was that? And talk about how you thought through what the product was going to be.
Totally. So, I think, we did have another partner that we were working for that kind of that relationship dissolved along the way. So that was kind of like what got us there. And then I think to be like, oh, this is a cool space. And then I would say like beyond that, I think it's just like it was just kind of like a it's gonna sound so weird, but it was like a creative venture at some point. Like once we started developing kind of like the whole idea of like, keep your head up, let's build a board, kind of like Super Deeker, kind of like, a lot of Bauer has their own hockey stick handling product. We just kind of started going crazy with it and adding like a lot of things that we have kind of seen from like stuff we've done. So like adding game modes like whack-a-mole, adding like, and then I think adding the statistics was just like a natural step coming from a very like analytical sports background of, you want to be able to track all your progress, right? Like if you're just playing and you don't have any statistical data, then you're not really doing anything of value. So that's kind of, I think, where we went, and just kind of, I guess, like how the product developed. I know it's not really like a super, like this was my dream since I was 3 kind of answer. But it's just something that like we've all just become like super passionate about.
Yeah, and I listen to a lot of. There's a podcast that I was introduced to on. I listen to Spotify, but it's called Founders. This guy David Sienna, I think it is, but he just he talks about books that he's read on founders of companies, and it's amazing how similar everyone's journey is. Very hyper focused. The rest of the world doesn't exist very much, especially early in the startup, but very disciplined in their daily disciplines, and they just seem to are able to get stuff done on a consistent basis. But my question, for you is, getting in, I look at, because we got a lot of young people out here, and, what are you going to do after you're done playing hockey and stuff like that? And I look at some of the stuff that I've developed. Everyone wants to have a really good idea and they want it yesterday. But unfortunately, you got to just kind of be in your space and in whatever you're doing a lot. And then over time, stuff just kind of pops up and you got it. And you don't know where it came from. Why didn't I have that idea 2 years ago?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that the other thing that's super important is that I guess I'm learning is I'm definitely on the instant gratification train. But we've been working on this product for close to 2 years.
Yeah.
So this isn't like something where it's like, okay, I came up with this yesterday, we built the app and whatever. There's been honestly like 2 years of blood, sweat, tears, like something worked, something didn't work. People, like relationships that have gone good and bad in there. And like just like a lot of growth of like, and then there's also been a lot of wandering too of like, this looks cool and this looks cool. Cause when you have, and to be totally honest with you, like computer vision it's going to change the world, not just in the hockey space, but in every facet of our lives. And there's so much potential to do so many things. But when there's so much potential to do so many things, you kind of get this scatterbrained approach and you don't do anything.
Yeah.
And that's been a real struggle. So I remember I actually listened to this. I don't know if you know who Alex Hormozy is, but I mean,
Yep.
He's like a YouTuber.
No,
kinda,
very well.
And he's like, pick something and focus on it and do it.
Yep.
And so that's like something I've been like, just like screaming at myself every time. It's like, pick something, focus on it, do it. Don't get distracted. And a lot of times it's also hard because when you have really cool technology, you have everybody's like, oh, you should work with me on this and you should do this with me. And like, and it's great, but it's also like, on the other hand, like you don't do anything if you just like keep on pivoting. So I feel like we found like a good niche and we're like, really like, let's try to do the best we can here and then maybe grow organically. But yeah, that's, again, it's been 2 years of just like a bazillion hours, to be honest.
Have you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V?
Yeah, I love Gary V.
Yeah, me too. So he had a book, I think it's called Ask Gary V. And there's a part in there where someone's asking him saying, I got all these things that, I got to get done. And this and that. And he just says, shut the puck up, pick the one you love the most and focus on that.
I love that. And that's really just been, again, like I get so sucked into big ideas and going crazy. But honestly, like, and I think you're an entrepreneur, so you know this. And like, I'm a baby entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I think that like, I keep on like telling myself like, a lot of it's just not like the glitz and the glamour and the fun and the like, oh, we're going to change the world tomorrow, and do something crazy. It's like, let's work on this widget or code this little thing or like get a website up or, a lot of the things that you have to do are very, almost menial tasks.
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to just like grind through them because somebody's got to do it,
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, someone's going to do it. Why not you?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and I don't know, honestly, Heads Up Hockey, I don't know how it'll go in the next, year or so, but I hope it does well. Like, and if it fails, I'm 22, I'll just restart.
Yeah.
With something else.
How much money have you had to dump into it up to this point, or has it just been sweat equity?
It's pretty much been sweat equity. I would say we probably dumped, inventory and things like that. Maybe like, I don't want to just say sweat equity because that's not true at all. Maybe like $8,000.
Yeah, good. That's awesome.
Including our inventory that we just bought. So we just bought 100 units of our inventory.
Okay.
So if anybody's listening to this and wants to buy one, they're on our site. But yeah, so that was around $4,000. So that was a pretty big hit for us. But
yeah, well, it's not millions, and it's not you're not trying to go raise money, so you're still totally in control. And so you talked a little bit about some of the challenges in your, going through the process of turning your idea into a tangible product. Just give us a couple of really ones that just popped out of nowhere where you just went, holy crap, are you kidding me? Because I've had plenty of those where I've spent, 40 hours on something and you got to just scrap it and start all over, and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have, let me think. I think, so it's been like a slow process of just making the thing better and useful. And so right now our code base is around, which is not really big for a code base, but it's around 40 to 50,000 lines of code. So, that, and I would say I've probably written about 85 to 90% of it.
Wow.
So that's been just being really just like dedicated to like, okay, I'm going to code every day for like 8 to 10 to 14 hours and just like knock out this project has been really hard. I think, I moved back home. So I think, if I would just say something hard was just like, I got depressed for a while, I think, just like working so much. And then, but you also get to that point where you become obsessive. Yeah. And then I'd say like also like something that's really hard about AI is a lot of times when you train a model, it doesn't come out very good. So that's actually maybe the most distressing part, because when you're coding an app, it's like you can kind of see the progress working over time. And you're like, oh, this works, this is good, this is bad. Like I built a UI, it sucks, let me redesign it. That's all good. And that's just like gumption. Like you're like, this, I'll spend 100 hours on this and then scrap it, redo it. But then the thing that's scary about like training models, or not scary, but weird, is like you train the model and you don't know how it's going to come out. So a lot of times, you have to annotate a lot of data and then you train the model and then it's bad. So I would say that is kind of, that's one place, is just like when we train the model, like, you spend like 8 to 10 hours training a model and then it just doesn't turn out good. And then you got to do it again and again.
Yeah.
The other one that I think was actually hard was deciding to kill our pickleball project. Now that I think about it, sorry, I had to talk my way to the actual answer, but we scrapped our pickleball project and that was like a super cool project. There was so much cool technology, so much innovation. And actually, I think Oliver spent, like close to half a summer working on it. And that was really hard emotionally to be like, we can't do both of these right now. this one is almost done. The pickleball project isn't almost done. And we also missed a market window with our pickleball project. Like if we had spent all of our resources on that, we could have completed it, and I think we made the right decision looking back. But that's something that, it's hard to be like, I've done like 85% of this project, but I'm going to need $400,000 to finish it, like realistically. And like, that's not something that's super, tangible for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we can maybe raise the money, but you raise the money and then your job is raising money. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's so many facets that go into taking an idea to a product and then to market. And that, we all know what needs to be done, and you either write a check for it or you try to do it yourself. And we try to do it ourselves early on, to save money. And then, so
totally.
Go ahead.
And I don't want to build a company off of again, getting a bunch of investment too. I mean, maybe one day if I have a big enough idea, we can, but it's hard to do that too. It's a different set of challenges you face.
Yeah. You and I, it's amazing how you speak, and my life is the same. So over the years, with my other company, Online Hockey Training, it's a lot of video content. I have just over 1,200 drills in my program, and I've had 3 big filming projects, and they were just me and an iPad in my space, where I was doing the same day, repeating it. I think I went for 78 or 77 days in a row of repeating the same day, just rinse and repeat. So I'm curious on what are your productivity habits? How do you, stay motivated? What do you do to set up to have a really productive day?
That's a really good question.
I know
the 70 days feels so accurate, because there was a time period where it's like, I don't know what day it was for like months. Like I was like, is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday? Because I wasn't really talking to people that often.
Right. You can't. You just go into monk mode.
Exactly. That's hilarious that you say that, because I was joking with my so I lived here at home for summers when I got a lot of the development done for like maybe 6 months, and I'm back home now. And I was joking with my parents. I was like, I'm living that monk life. Like, I just go to the gym and then I work. And I was like, there are no girls, no like going out. Like, it's just, it's very quiet. I don't know. It's honestly, the productivity is like a really hard answer to like tell you. Like, I wish I had like a productivity routine. It's something I need to fix. I try to work at night, which is really not healthy, but because if I work during the day, I'm a huge extrovert, so I'll just talk to people.
Yeah.
Which is I'm fixing now, because I have to get up early to make a lot of sales calls to actually interact with people. But when I'm programming and I'm not talking to anybody, I will usually work until like 5 or 6 a.m. actually, which is not good.
No, that's typical of writers and programmers, where you're either doing it early in the morning or you're doing it in the middle of the night. That's the schedule. That's when you're most creative.
Totally. And I think I don't believe in the whole productivity hack thing, like where you like sing a song and do a dance before you start to work. I think you just get up and work. I'm trying to think, because like you're talking about, okay, so you're filming for 71 days. It's like there's not really an answer. It's just like you do it. Like you don't want to do it a lot of days, and then you just like do it, or you're so obsessed with it that you can't like not do it even though you don't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll give you an example. So there's a technique that I learned called bookending your days. So today for me started yesterday. I map out exactly what I'm going to do for pretty much the whole day. Now, every minute is not accounted for, but the things that I need to get done today, I put them on that list. And the most important one, the one that I find to be the hardest, is the one that I start on right away and get that out of the way, because then the rest is easy. There was a book that I read called Eat That Frog. And it's an easy metaphor, but what if every morning you woke up and the first thing you had to do was eat a live frog? Then the rest of the day, anything you had to do would seem easy, wouldn't it?
Totally.
So that's what I do, get the first thing done. But that's how I would do. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. How did you prepare to have a productive day where you always were moving the needle forward?
Totally. I write down on my phone, like I guess in my notes app, a list of everything I'm trying to accomplish for the day.
Okay.
Either when I go to bed, pretty much what you said, like bookending, when I go to bed or wake up in the morning. So I have a list of like, these are all the things I'm going to try to do. And I'm usually very bad at getting them all done because I want to do too much. Then I think I have double the amount of time I always have.
Yeah.
So I would say I definitely do like make a list of everything I want to do in the day. And I slowly try to complete it. We use this tool called Linear. It's really good. It's like a ticketing program.
Okay.
I would say that has been productive. Yeah, and then again, like in Virginia, it's actually super easy for me to be productive because I don't live near anybody. So there's not a lot to distract me. If I lived, I think, near people, I think it would be harder for me. So that's definitely going to be a struggle in the future and something I'm going to have to work on, I think, a lot, and a lot of personal growth is to not get distracted, because that will definitely happen to me.
But that's everyone. I mean, we're all learning, and it's not hacks. We're just learning the daily disciplines that we know we should be doing every day, but they're not easy to do every day. But we know we should be doing it. So this question just popped up in my head, so I'm going to ask. I'm 56, so I'm double you. When I was in college, or when I was growing up before college as a youth, kind of the master plan for a young adult was to graduate from, finish high school, go to college, get your degree, get a job, buy a house, get married, have kids, work really hard, retire, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
with that being said, I don't think, if you're playing a sport and you have to go to college, yes, you have to do that. And there's a lot of professions, obviously the medical profession, that you have to go to college and get a degree and stuff. But if you're not in any of those sectors, do you really think college is necessary to make a living in this world today with the internet?
No, definitely not. I think, that's a hard one, because the problem is like, you're gonna get me off on like a really big tangent.
I like it. Let's do it.
I think the problem is like on a macro level, you have to, like, as a society, you have to categorize people. And so you have to use something to categorize the people, and college is the institution we've decided on. I wanted to drop out of college. I really am not a good student. Like, I didn't do bad in college, but I just, like, I wouldn't go to class. I'm more of like, let me read the textbook, show up to class, take the test. But it's really hard because I don't think that college is super necessary. The other thing is, though, is like college has like a lot of different purposes. And that's the other question you got to ask, is like, there could be other purpose. Like, if the goal is to get a job, I think that you're better off going to a trade school or doing something like that.
Yeah.
If the goal is to, like, meet people, like, kind of grow as a person, kind of explore a bunch of things. I don't think college even does that really, really well, but I think it does it better than other things. And then I think also some level of, like, social proof is necessary when you're dealing with economies of scale. So, like, when you're an entrepreneur, you're doing something, like, it doesn't matter. But when you're like a Facebook or something that's like a 1,000-person company, you kind of need something that's going to be like, how do I know that you're going to follow through and actually be able to, like, achieve on things you say you're going to achieve? And on some level, if you get a degree, you've had to do that on, like, a little bit of some level.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you've graduated high school, you could or could not have done that. So you could have super competent people who graduate high school and super incompetent people who graduate high school. And I think that, like, with college, you usually have a median of, like, somewhat competent people at least.
I agree. I look at it from this perspective and those are great points of view. I think that it's important for, everyone to take everything in and make your most informed decision. But one thing that I've heard consistently through a bunch of different channels is that you think about what, especially if you don't know what you're going to do. I mean, I'm 56. I still don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life,
Totally.
but I'm doing something. But when you think about how much a degree costs, for a lot of colleges, I would say 150,000 is pretty close. Let's say 100,000. Let's say you don't go to college, but you invest half of that, $50,000, into online programs, learning how to create an online business. And if you're disciplined enough, it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's totally doable. It depends on how much you want to make. I mean, if you want to make millions, don't know, but if you want to make 100 grand, I think that that's completely doable. And even if you don't know what you're going to do online.
That is true. And like, yeah, no, I agree. The price point for college is ridiculous right now. For sure.
Is it? What is it? Like, what's average? Do you know? I could look at my
in
phone.
the US? Well, if you go in-state, you're probably looking at like 30 grand a year. So 30 times 4, like maybe like 120,000 in-state. You're looking at like maybe 210 out of state private institution, which is crazy. And if you told you give an 18-year-old, you're like, I'm going to give you a loan for $200,000, and you don't know what, like, you never like get that approved as like a business loan, kind of like a small business loan. Like, you don't know what you want to do, but like, I'm just going to like hang out for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, and I think that I think there's going to be a huge like opportunity for people who are like welders or plumbers or like people who go to like trade schools. I think that's really undervalued in society. Like, you do that and you're going to be making more money. You're not going to have a ton of debt. Like, you have a tangible skill at the end of the day. You're like, oh, I can put these two pieces of metal together. And for programmers, it doesn't make sense to go to college on a learning perspective, because most of the best programmers program all the time. So to pass a college class, you got to make it so it's like, okay, I work a couple hours and then I pass the college class. But all the people who are really, really good, like top tier people, are just do it for fun. And so that's kind of, and I wouldn't put myself in that group. Like, I think I'm like an okay programmer, but I'm kind of a hacky programmer. I mean, if you meet people who are really, really good. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I would put college, is like, doesn't make a lot of sense. I do think it makes sense for super high level academia too, though. Like, if you're going to be a mathematician or like a PhD, I think that is like valuable to society on some level.
Yeah.
So for that, it makes sense. Again, like the $100,000, 150 plus does not make sense. Like, in terms of like an investment, like if you were like, this is objectively not the best investment.
Right. And then you get your degree, you get a job, but you're spending the next 10 years paying off the loan.
That's true.
I don't know. But and then the other thing is, I want to say is, because I'm in a position right now, and I hurt my shoulder probably 7 weeks ago, and I'm going to have surgery in a week, and doing lessons. I teach stick skills. So I'm doing a lesson. I got hurt during the lesson, and I don't have any disability insurance, so I can't do lessons. I can't make any money. So why I'm talking about the online business is because I have online hockey training. I have the podcast that are revenue generating. They give me the opportunity to generate revenue and I don't have to work. So these online businesses, there's a lot of upfront, even, what you're doing now. You're building it, but once it's built, then someone told me it's called a mailbox business. You build it and then you just pick up the checks in the, in the mailbox after that. And we all know that you can't just build something and just let it alone and it's going to provide you the goose that lays the golden egg all the time. You got to massage it and, keep on evolving it. But I want people to think about it. If you don't have to go to college, to get to your dream job, look at other opportunities, because I think I heard the stat that within 5 to 7 years, online businesses is going to account for multi-trillion a multi-trillion-dollar industry. Right now, it's like a multi-million-dollar industry. So hundreds of millions or billions, hundred billions, a billion-dollar industry. So I don't know, my friend. I just like what you got going on. You fit right into it, and we're just trying to educate people. And the big thing is that I love about what you got going on is that you came up with an idea and you acted on it. I don't know how many people, you pull out chapstick or something, they say, "Oh, I had that idea," like 9 years, whatever. And they say that they had the idea. You're watching an infomercial.
Right. And I think that that's the biggest thing I've learned about entrepreneurship is like an idea is great, but actually executing is like 99% of the work.
Oh, yeah.
Too. It's like, and there's so many facets to it of like executing on marketing, social, that's something we're really trying to get right now. It's like, what's our social strategy? Just so many things, which, I mean, online hockey training, like, again, like online hockey training is not a crazy concept, but it's like actually doing all the videos, adding the biggest video database, all that is really where like the real like meat of the value is.
Yeah, no, it is. And, I guess I want people to hopefully, if they sign up to be a member at Online Hockey Training, to know that this has been my life's journey. If I'm to be remembered after I'm gone, I don't want to be remembered as an NHL player. I want to be remembered as, an instructor who helped players get a little better, or, be able to move from where they are right now, not happy with their stick skills, and then they're introduced to me and they become better and feel better.
I love that. An NHL player is not a bad thing to be remembered as either, though.
No, they can't ever take.
I would take NHL player.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It was a pretty cool time in my life. But anyways, okay. We're almost to an hour, dude. Did you think it would be an hour? How long did you think it would be when we first started?
I thought we were going to talk for like 15 minutes. I was like, there's not a lot to talk about here. It's like we just have a product, you hit little whack-a-moles on a screen. It's not that not that deep, but
yeah. So talk a little bit to me here, just a few more questions and then I'll let you go, but talk a little bit, how are things going for the early adoption? What's the feedback you're getting from kids? And also, I mean, I'm sure you've done obviously some testing with players. What's been the vibe that's coming? What information are you getting?
To be honest, it's actually been almost all good. So like our next goal is just like reach out to as many people possible as we can. So that's kind of like our next thing is like, how do we really try to scale this thing up, start to get some orders, and then really, start to build out kind of like the next versions of the application. Because I think that the application has a really long way to go.
Yeah.
To be totally honest.
And I have 1,200 drills, and I'm hoping that we can somehow work something out where we could, pair up and incorporate what I got going on with what you have going on to be able to provide, like you said, people want to, kids play video games. Why? Because they want to get better and get different levels.
Totally. And that's something we want to like, I think like, so just to, I guess, step back from a really high level, I think it's been good. I think the things is, but there's also like a lot we're really excited about in the future. And then I think like also like the other thing we really want to focus on as like a product and a company is, I don't know, like this is going to sound weird to say, but not being like too greedy as a company, like really giving a space for like the community to like develop the app.
Yes.
And that's kind of like where we're really focused, and like also allow people who like contribute to the app to also like be able to profit and do well off of the app and partner with people. So, and, again, I think that's kind of, I guess, kind of where we're going is like really trying to figure out where to do partnerships. I mean, we have so many ideas for the application, and we think it's limitless. So just to give like could I just give a high level of the app and what makes it super unique just for everybody listening?
You totally can, and please do, and take your time.
Okay. So what's super unique about our application is it's the first time that computer vision is being used for training in the hockey space. Um, and so what that really means is instead of being confined to like a board or sensors that light up, pretty much anybody, once they download the app and get our attachment, will be able to like use drills and train on different drills, but then eventually create their own drills. And coaches will be able to reach players with their own drills. So it's like this like kind of canvas that you can build whatever you want on. And you can also add physical objects into the play space. And so because it's all digital, it's really kind of like a whole paradigm shift in the way that all these tools have been built in the past. And so like one of my favorite like moments in all of like entrepreneurship journey is like the classic Steve Jobs unveiling the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
But what was crazy about the iPhone was the touch screen. And nobody remembers that. But like when he went in, what he said is he's like, this is all software now. There aren't buttons that you need to press. Like this is software. And so we can change it however we feel like. And that's like changed the whole course. And so that's kind of what is super cool about computer vision is it's everything is like on the iPad. So it's like you don't have to get your own hardware, but then it's also software. So it's like it's changeable. And I'm really excited for you to try it out, Lance, because it works really well. Like it works for really high level players too, as far as I've seen in good lighting situations. And we're tracking the puck at 60 frames a second, which means there's no lag. And it's actually the frame rate is pretty similar to the frame rate of your eyes.
Oh, wow.
So I guess that's like, I think what I'm super excited about is kind of like all the creative ideas people are going to have, they're going to tell us about. And then a lot of like the integrations we have, and then incorporating really cool technologies that we've developed that we haven't had time to put time and energy in. So like as we grow, I'm going to be able to get more people to like actually code for more hours. Like some of my guys hopefully bring one on part-time if we're able to get enough sales. And we have like eye tracking technology that I think is like super cool, and there's a million use cases for that could combine with this. So there's just like we have so many ideas that we just don't have enough time to build out yet.
Okay, you're going to make this official right now, Michael. Okay. If you are going to partner with anyone, before you do, you have to talk to me first and see if I want to partner with you first, okay? Because
That sounds great.
I love everything that you're saying.
That sounds like an amazing plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm so excited. And yeah, I'm so honestly like again, and I think the other thing I'm super excited for is multiplayer. I just think that multiplayer is going to be so fun. Like I really love just building like cool things. Like the best compliment I can get on our app, and we get it all the time from kids. They're like, "That's raw."
Cool.
They're like, "That's raw." Like that's good.
Yeah.
And that the hockey training, and I love the hockey training and all that other thing, but if you can just build something that matches like technical complexity with like extreme simplicity, it's just a beautiful combination. And that's what I'm super excited about, is just trying to figure out a way to like improve the training experience, but then also just build stuff where people like play and they're like, that was a cool experience.
Yeah. All right. I don't know about any of you people out there that are listening, but Mr. Smarty Pants here, he's pretty cool.
I appreciate it, Lance.
All right. How can people find you?
So they can, I guess, add us on Instagram at Heads Up Hockey app. They can also go to our website. It's just headsuphockey.ai. So instead of .com, it's .ai. And they can follow me on LinkedIn. And then if they really want to talk to me, I guess my phone number is on our website right now. That might change if we start to gain traction. But if you really want to call me, you can call me.
Get that off of the website now.
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also email me. Our company is called, the bigger company is called Vincere Systems. So it means to conquer in Latin, which I think is great.
Cool.
It's like you're going to go conquer your competition.
Yeah.
So it's info@vinceresystems.com. It's also a good email to email. Yeah.
All right. You send me all those links. I'll put it in the description. And then, are we going to get a little discount to the listeners here? let me know. I can put that in the description as well.
Totally. I would love to do that. Again, Lance, I appreciate it so much, you having me on here and allowing me to shamelessly plug the product. But yeah, no, I'll get you a discount code in the description. I need to work through some of how to do that on the website. Again, 22, so I haven't done this a lot of times, but I will get it by the time this episode comes out.
We're all patient here, and if you hang around me enough, you know that I rock it at one pace, and it's only medium.
I love it.
Well, Mr. Fitzgerald, that's a wrap for this episode. I want to thank you really for spending the time here with us today on the Hockey Journey podcast. I'm super excited to try your sweet new revolutionary hockey stick handling trading aid. I think the players around the world are going to love it. Keep on chasing your dream, my friend. It's a fun ride, as you're noticing. You're experiencing with a lot of challenges, but that's the space that we want to get in. That's the sandbox we want to play in, because that's where the growth is, and that's what gets us up every morning. If there's anything I can do to help you along the way, please don't hesitate to ask, my friend. Best of luck, Michael, and thanks again for sharing your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we're super excited about a possible partnership and adding, some videos to the app and everything above. So I really appreciate the time and you allowing me to come on here.
Well, that concludes another episode of the Hockey Journey podcast. I can't thank you enough for stopping by and listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing Michael Fitzgerald's hockey business journey, as he and his team at headsuphockey.ai are at the forefront of innovation, leading the charge with cutting-edge AI technology. I'll be posting some content soon on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channels showing their stick skill developmental product in action with the players I work with. Stay tuned. Lastly, if you think there's someone in your circle of family and friends that might like this episode as well, please share it with just one person. It will really help me in growing this hockey community. Again, I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or submit a review. I hope to see you back here soon, and do me a favor, make someone close to you smile today. All the best, my friends.